Good evening. Today is Tuesday, January the 16th, 2024, and I'm calling the meeting to order. We'll first open the meeting tonight with the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight will be led by Councilwoman Jamil Jones.
In this moment of reflection, let us draw strength from the wisdom of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who reminded us, never, never be afraid to do what's right, especially if the well-being of a person or an animal is at stake. Society's punishments are small compared to the ones we inflict on our soul when we look the other way. May we as a community embody these words in our actions, tirelessly striving for justice, equality, and compassion. As we navigate the challenges ahead, may our choices be guided by the commitment to uplift the well-being of all. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilwoman Jones. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Bowers.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
McGregor.
Here.
Padova.
Here.
Renner.
Here.
Schnetzer.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
All right, thank you. Any additions or corrections to the agenda from my council colleagues? All right, thank you. Just one note that in absentia tonight, we will be presenting the resolution recognizing Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and I will ask Councilwoman Jones to address that at the conclusion of hearing of visitors. Okay, our next item on the agenda then is hearing of visitors. We have one speaker slip tonight from Carolyn Harding. Ms. Harding, if you would please approach the podium and state your name and address for the record. You then have 3 minutes to give your remarks.
Hi there. I'm Carolyn Harding, and I am a concerned citizen here in Central Columbus. I live in Bexley, but I've been working on protecting Columbus's water for about 12 years. As we know, Columbus is growing, and Intel is coming in, and our needs for water are going to be growing as well. And to protect our water is important because most suburbs, we all buy our water from the Columbus city. I'm passing out, I pass out to the mayor, and also we have a white paper that we have created with scientists, and it's called The Risks to the Greater Columbus Water Supply from Oil and Gas Production. And it's a white paper, so it's a study with peer-reviewed information, and we worked in tandem with a water scientist here in Columbus. I just want to briefly give you the idea of why we did this. The Columbus Community Bill of Rights and its educational arm, the Columbus Community Rights Coalition, are local grassroots organizations dedicated to calling attention to the toxic radioactive waste that threaten Central Ohio's water sources. We've talked with the members have talked with the City of Columbus for nearly a decade, meeting with representatives of the Department of Public Utilities, Division of Water, and City Council to discuss the importance of protecting local water sources from contamination resulting from oil and gas production and related activities. We've shared data, conducted on-site field trips, and sought information about the city's plans to protect Columbus water sources. This white paper is intended to alert readers to the risks to the greater Columbus water sources related to oil and gas activities, provided information to enhance their understanding of them, and stimulate action to resolve them. It's a comprehensive study, it's online, and we're asking every community which buys its water from Columbus to read about what's going on in our watershed and what we can do to protect our water for all of our citizens. And I gave you a piece of paper which is our asks. So I would love you to look at these asks, and we have actually quite a good working relationship with the Columbus Water Department. But we would like to inform you of the information that we've gathered, and it's on our website, billofrights.org, and that information's on the back of this little card. And we would like to work in tandem with you, inform you, so you know, because all this business is going to be energized, and Ohio is still very focused on natural gas. And so there's going to be a lot of waste that needs to be dumped into injection wells. So Columbus, we need to be aware and make sure that we're not the place where it's all being disposed of.
Thank you, Ms. Harding. And would you please mind stating your address?
156 North Roosevelt Avenue, Bexley, Ohio.
Thank you so much. We thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you very much. And the white paper is online, so please look at it, and please reach out to the Columbus Department of Water and ask them to do those asks. And if any of folks that are here want this information, it's up on the clerk's desk, so you can read it yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Harding. Mr. Renner?
Yes, thank you, Ms. President. Ms. Harding, I wanted to actually introduce myself, and we can talk offline. I'm Stephen Renner. My day job is the Director of the Sanitary Engineering Department for the Commissioners. Under Ohio Revised Code, it is my department's responsibility to regulate, if we so choose, the waste from, the brine waste from fracking and oil wells and what have you. We did take it to the commissioners, and the commissioners did pass a resolution outlawing that use in the unincorporated areas of Franklin County.
That's
So I
excellent.
just wanted you to know that that happened last year.
Excellent. You mean the brine spreading
Yes.
out on
Yes.
the roads for ice and
That's,
dust?
yeah, it's not allowed. So if anybody hears about it, let me know.
Definitely.
And we'll take action.
Great. You'll find this on white paper, very informative. And it's for the layperson as well as folks, the folks that are in the water departments.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for telling me and reminding me that. You probably talked with my colleague, Bill Lyons.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
we talk a lot,
Yeah.
actually.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time. Any other questions?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Are there any other speaker slips, Mr. Clerk?
None.
Okay, thank you. As I mentioned, in absentia tonight, the resolution recognizing Martin Luther King Jr. Day and the National Day of Service of January 15th, 2024 is being presented to Gahanna resident, President of the Baptist Ministerial Alliance, and widower of the late Mrs. Nancy Hayes King, Reverend Joel King Jr. I'd like to recognize Councilwoman Jamil Jones to offer some remarks.
Thank you, Council President. So yes, because Reverend King couldn't be here, we still wanted to take a moment to just recognize and honor him and his work to the community in honor of Martin Luther King Day. So as mentioned, Reverend King is the former pastor of Jerusalem Second Baptist Church, in addition to being the president of the Baptist Ministerial Alliance of Columbus. This is an organization of prominent Central Ohio faith leadership that reflects the diverse community across the metro area. In addition, he's a keynote speaker, a civil rights activist, and community leader. And as I was doing a little bit of research, I found a quote from him that I wanted to share with everyone. In a speech several years ago, he said, "We have to wake up and challenge each other. We can't be afraid to let Dr. King's dream die, and we can't afford letting it become a nightmare either." So a good reminder of all of us on this day after Martin Luther King. In addition to all of those accomplishments, his partner in life and service was the Mrs. Nancy R. Hayes King, who passed away last year. Mrs. King was involved in the March of Dimes, the Kidney Foundation, GJPS PTOs, and really wherever there was a community need. Together, Reverend and Mrs. King embodied the intent behind Martin Luther King Day, National Day of Service. We wanted to thank both of them and honor them on this day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Jones. Moving on to the consent agenda, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as published, which includes the aforementioned resolution?
So moved. Second.
I have a first by Mr. Renner and a second by Mr. Schnetzer. Any discussion? All right, Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Renner,
Yes.
Schnetzer. Yes. Jones,
Yes.
McGregor,
Yes.
Padova,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes. All right, motion carries. And the consent agenda is adopted as published. Section E on the agenda, motions. We have one item on, under the motions section of the agenda, motion 003-2024. As you all may recall, this was discussed at committee last week, and this is a motion authorizing the Senior Director of Operations permission to bid the renovation and expansion of 825 Tech Center Drive. Let me first get a first for this motion and a second, and then we'll open for discussion, Mr. Schultz. Is there a first?
So moved.
A first by Mr. Schnetzer,
Second.
second by Mr. Renner. And with discussion, I'd like to open the floor to my colleague, Mr. Renner.
Well, thank you. I think what I really want to do is I want to hear from the administration and from Director Schultz first and reserve my comments after that. Is that
Absolutely.
okay?
Absolutely, of course.
Thank you.
Good evening, council, and thank you again. We do have representatives from both MSA and Alfred in the audience, so if there are additional questions, we'll welcome them to the tables at that particular time. Basically, what I'm going to summarize this evening is just some additional questions that we received after last Monday's meeting as it relates to some of the details from the ITBs, the invitations to bid as they go out. I'll remind everybody that during the conversation last week, in part, there was some questions about DEI initiatives and how that would be addressed inside of each invitation to bid. Mr. Quinn had stated that in comparably sized projects and complex projects like ours, they're seeing anywhere from 18 to 20% diverse contractors bid on those particular projects. What we're proposing to do is add a statement, which I'm going to actually read into the record here, that would be included in each one of the ITBs that I do think addresses some of the concerns that were raised around formalizing, I guess I'll say it that way, formalizing the initiative. And again, this would be added to each one of the ITBs. I do have some additional information after that. But the City of Gahanna and Alfred Incorporated are committed to providing opportunities for diverse businesses to serve as subcontractors and material suppliers and support construction services for the 825 Drive renovation and expansion project. The project goal for participation is 15% of the total cost of work. Each bidder shall include the diverse participation included in their base bid and on bid forms, and the participation percent included in the base bid may be taken into consideration to determine in the determination of the best value subcontractor selection for the project. Throughout construction, the diverse participation inclusion, including valid diversity certificates, will be tracked using Alfred's Textera payment application system. In addition, the City of Gahanna and Alfred will encourage the participation of local subcontractors, service companies, and suppliers defined as the City of Columbus, with priority to those businesses whose corporate offices is located within the city limits of Gahanna. So the one part that's in parentheses here in the statement that I didn't read was diverse businesses being MBE, DBE, VBE, WBE, and SEBE. And then we've also added that last paragraph that addresses some of the local business folks inside of the City of Gahanna that we then also qualify under the same definition, so that they get, in the statement there, consideration in the determination of the best value subcontractors in the selection process. That has to do with the DEI components of some of the questions that we did receive. Some of the smaller questions that we did get. The bidder list will be provided to us prior to both the construction contract, GMP 1 and GMP 2 being, before the bids for GMP 1 and GMP 2 actually go out. So we'll get to see those and review those. This is a prevailing wage job, 100%. And that's stated in several places throughout the bid documents, and including the instructions to bid and the scope of work. It's also a requirement within the all the subcontracts that will be held by Alfred. Both union and non-union companies can bid on this particular project. Alfred is a signatory of the carpenters and labor unions. I had to look up exactly what that means. But organizations like Alfred make commitments to utilize union contractors first, but they're also able to go out and hire non-union contractors when either the bid was not competitive or no union contractor submitted a bid to solidify the contract at that particular instance. All subcontractors are required I'm sorry. The subcontractor pre-qualification criteria requires the subcontractor to state if they have ever been penalized for any discrimination cases. So that is within the bid. And then the last item on my list, it has more to do with the, I believe it was a question as it related to recycling and some of the sustainability questions. But the demolition scope will include a requirement to provide reports on the diversion of demolition materials. I think the one note here is that happens throughout the entire project. So Alfred will require off-site sorting and construction dumpsters and diversion reports for the entire duration of the project. So it's not just during the demolition phase where we actually get a report that says this is where A, B, and C went and how it was disposed of. So with that, we're able to open it up to the floor for any questions. Again, Mr. Hall and Mr. Quinn are in the audience. I'd be more than happy to come up and answer some more specific questions.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Mr. Renner?
Thank you. Director Schultz, I first want to applaud you greatly for that statement. And Madam Mayor, I know this reflects on you as well. Going to 15% is raising the bar across the county. The county's stated aspirational goal is 12%. So going to 15 is absolutely commendable. So I really, really sincerely mean that from the heart. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, sir.
So I guess my only question is that I'm sure you have a process, but I don't want to get in the weeds, but I want to understand from a high level, and maybe this is a question for Alfred, but the utilization of the SBEs and all the other alphabets, how is that going to be monitored and promised and held, the general contractor being held accountable that they're doing it, right?
Yeah, so we will, basically, we're looking for first-tier subcontractors that are certified as diverse, right? So SEBE, which
I'm not
is...
sure that microphones are working, or...
It is, his volume just needs to
I'm
go
sorry.
up.
So primarily, we're looking for first-tier subcontractors that are certified as diverse. Some of the acronyms that we're using doesn't necessarily mean they're diverse when it comes to race or sex. It could be economically disadvantaged. EDGE is one of the ones which is economically disadvantaged. It does not mean you're necessarily diverse. Same thing with SEBE. It's a small business enterprise. So that's one of the things that we want to get some input from this council is what is important to Gahanna in regards to tracking purposes so that we can set up our systems appropriately to track that information. We've seen it, City of Columbus looks at MBE and WBE. That's the only two that they accept. The OFCC looks at EDGE only. Franklin County looks at SEBE only. Everybody sort of has their own kind of motto of what they want to track on that. So we want to understand that. So what we do is we will ask them on their bid to tell us, what is your diversity inclusion? It's very easy when you get a minority-owned business. It's the primary subcontractor. It's 100%, right? So their whole bid is diverse. There's several of those out there. But a lot of times what they're going to do is they're going to partner with diverse subcontractors, which For instance, a HVAC contractor may partner with an insulator who is diverse, and they will tell us what value of that bid, of their total bid that is. So we'll know percent. And then we'll ask them as a prerequisite for payment, they will have to fill out information within our accounting software. And if they check that, they have a WBE certified insulator, they will have to submit a certificate into our system that shows, here's your WB E&C certificate, and that is prerequisite for payment. So until we have the certificate, we will not release payment if they're billing for that, that diversity. So that's how we track it. It's a monthly report. It comes with the pay applications that I'll give to Mr. Schultz here. And you'll know when we go in GMP1, we'll summarize, here's the diversity participation in GMP1. When we get to GMP2, we'll summarize that and then the total project. And then on a monthly basis, we'll sort of track it through. We are working with MSA at the Upper Arlington Community Center right now, and we're at right around 19% currently on diversity on that project. So we're pretty comfortable with the 50% goal. We're hoping that we exceed it. In regards to penalties, there has not been penalties initiated on any public project that I'm aware of currently. I know that the city of Columbus is talking about it, and they're thinking of instituting it to some degree, but normally, there's a good faith effort that's put in. Like we solicited as many diverse companies as we could. We didn't receive bids, or it didn't work out for monetary purposes or whatever, but there's a good faith effort that you submit. Here's the good faith that we made for diversity participation. So, but holding us accountable, Elford does that. We've had a diversity director for about 20 years at Elford. This is, something that we've been doing forever. We're involved in all of the councils in regards to encouraging small and diverse businesses and helping them out, mentoring and tutoring. So it's something that our company takes extremely seriously, and that we do regardless of whether or not there's a requirement on the project.
I appreciate that. So I was really just wanting to understand, are there documents that actually will reflect the utilization? And then, as you said, it sounds like you're going to be monitoring at the pay application aspect, and so there will be a percent, and then at the end of the day, did they live up to the 15%, or whatever that you're holding up to? The county uses affidavits. You probably are familiar with that. And we tie it back to the contract, and that's how we actually can pull or withhold paying certain funds. So anyway, I'm happy. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Renner. Any other questions from my colleagues?
I do have a question. So you mentioned about the commitment to union contractors first, but have the ability to choose non-union. Do you have information or data on how often you go with union versus not?
So it depends on the project. Typically on prevailing wage projects where the wage requirements are equivalent for a non-union contractor and a union contractor, they basically have to pay the same wage regardless. It's, I would say, in the 90+% range that we're using union contractors because they're typically very competitive in that arena. When we do non-union projects, it's a little bit more mixed. So I couldn't tell you what it is because most of my projects are prevailing wage projects. So, but we do have we do a lot of multifamily apartment buildings where, those are non-union or non-prevailing wage projects where we'd have a higher percentage of non-union contractors. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Mr. Renner.
Just a little bit to go back. So not on the labor, thank you, but the sustainability. So thank you for having a record of and in mandating the recycling of the demolition materials and what have you. These are going to be of value as well. So I appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming back before us and answering these questions and having this information. I think it's of value to all of us to have this discussion and important to the community, so thank you. All right, Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Schnetzer.
Yes.
Renner.
Yes.
McGregor.
Yes.
Padova.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Next item is F on the agenda, ordinances for introduction and first reading. Clerk Baymeter, would you please read ordinance 0001-2024 into the record?
Ordinance 0001-2024, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and director of engineering to enter into contract with D&6 Sons Painting LLC for the water tower rehabilitation project.
And would you please proceed with ordinance 0002?
Ordinance 0002-2024, an ordinance to accept a general warranty deed from 307 through 309 West Johnstown Road LLC for 0.197 plus or minus acres of right-of-way dedication along a parcel located at 307 to 319 West Johnstown Road.
All right, thank you, Mr. Van Meter. Next on the agenda is Section G, correspondence and actions. Mr. Clerk, do you have anything for this section of the agenda?
Nothing this evening.
Okay, and anything from my council colleagues? I had one item that I wanted to share related to correspondence and actions. We discussed, I think at the last meeting, the potential vote by the Ohio Senate to override the governor's veto on tobacco legislation. I have reached out to State Senator Michelle Reynolds and to Senate Minority Leader Nikki Antonio regarding the vote. The Senate is expected to come back into session on January 24th. I have not received a response from either of those offices yet, though I am hopeful to advocate for home rule primarily because I think that this is a place where we can be responsive to our community's needs and we can innovate policy at the local level. So consistent with our position, my stated position in favor of home rule and opposing preemption efforts by the state, I wanted to alert my colleagues that I had been in touch with our state senator. All right, anything else? All right, next item on the agenda is H, representatives. Number one, we have Community Improvement Corporation, and I believe Mr. Weaver will be taking this one tonight.
Thank you, Madam President. Folks may recall that at our last council meeting, I promised I would deliver a more full report at today's meeting. The CIC met on Tuesday, December 19th at 7:30 a.m. at the Golf Course Clubhouse. Chair Collins shared that the board is thinking about the future and what projects or initiatives it'll next be pursuing, and expressed her desire for the CIC to become more independent financially by exploring opportunities pertaining to net fiber and a focus on workforce development. We received an update from the mayor summarizing several items in the budget, including an economic development strategy, as well as an update to the thoroughfare plan. We then moved into committee reports. Director Blackford of Planning shared that at a recent workshop with the Planning Commission, the department advised that the administration could not recommend support for the Sheets project, but noted that the company has the legal right to submit plans for consideration. This was for much discussed location along Granville Street. Some statistics were shared by Director Blackford and the Planning Department. 5,500 code enforcement inspections were performed in 2023, 1,700 code violations. The Building Division issued 1,900 permits and conducted 3,000 inspections. The Planning Commission reviewed 80 applications, and were 550 apartment units approved by the city, including for the Crescent at Central Park and the Morse Road project. In terms of development, Director Hammonds highlighted recent business retention visits, estimated that 70 to 80% of employee growth in the city is from existing businesses in the community. The CIC then voted to approve the agreement that the agreement with the city that was previously approved by council with the amended contract language. In terms of governance, CIC did approve a change to its bylaws as it relates to the structure of the executive committee and amended its records retention policy incorporating Ohio Revised Code Section 149.3. Lastly, the Real Estate Committee discussed the CIC's rental portfolio and various lease extension possibilities. Our next meeting is tomorrow at 8 a.m. in the committee room here. Thank you. That is it for me, Madam President.
Well, thank you, Mr. Weaver. You're up again with a MORPC report.
Oh, gosh, so fast. Bear with me, folks. I did receive my MORPC orientation on this past Thursday, January 11th. That orientation consisted of an overview of many of the programs that MORPC offers or advocates on behalf of, including many residential services, including home repair, home weatherization, housing advisory services, and other advocacy efforts. Also conduct an annual salary and fringe benefits survey. Other items that are forthcoming this year, the Ohio EPA is to assess the water situation in every county. We can expect a 0.5% sales tax initiative to come to the ballot to support the Link Us initiative in November. Save the date for March 15th for the State of the Region, the MORPC. State of the Region. Anything to add, Mr. Clerk? I'm sorry.
Thank you for the reminder.
And the next commission meeting is Thursday, February 8th. Beforehand, there will be a luncheon and conversation featuring the CEO of the Columbus Regional Airport Authority. And that is it for me, Madam President.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Ms. Padova with the Convention and Visitors Bureau report.
Thank you. The only reminder I have for everybody tonight is that the soiree at the Sanctuary is going to take place on January 27th from 8 to 11 p.m. So, and that is at the, soiree at the Sanctuary. At the Sanctuary. This is a fundraising event to benefit Gahanna's 175th anniversary that we'll be celebrating this year. So you can get more information at visitgahanna.com. And that's all.
Thank you, Ms. Padova. Councilwoman Jones with a school board report.
Yes, thank you. So January is School Board Appreciation Month, so we wanted to take a moment to recognize our Gahanna Jefferson Public School Board and thank them for their services to our students and our community as a whole. We also wanted to send a congratulations to former school board president Burl Brown Pickle Antonio for her appointment to Ohio House of Representatives. Per bylaws and school board policies, Vice President Kara Coates now becomes school board president, so congratulations to Mrs. Coates as well. There is now an open seat on our school board. Application deadline has passed. However, interviews will be conducted this week, January the 18th, with the goal of filling that seat by the February 1st board meeting. This timeline is based on Ohio Revised Code. I know that there has been questions in the community, but we wanted to share that it is based on that revised code. There are also several opportunities to connect with our school board coming up that we wanted to share with colleagues in the community. There's a coffee and conversation with Dr. Deagle and some of the school board members tomorrow afternoon from 1 to 2:30 at Dunkin' Donuts in Vista Plaza. The regular school board meeting is this Thursday at 6:30 p.m. And for a sneak peek of Phase 2 of all of the renovations at Middle School East, that'll be January 24th, and then rounding out the month with the State of the Schools address on January 31st at 7 o'clock at Middle School West. That event is taking a slightly different format this year with sort of a community open house of different options and opportunities that we can all learn about what's going on in our district, followed by Dr. Deagle's address. So we encourage everyone to get out and connect with our school board, our administration, and our students and staff this month. And more to come on our official meeting of the city, myself as liaison and the school board and the mayor as well. So lots of change at the school board. They have some other things to work on right now, and they'll get back to us on scheduling that meeting. But thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Official reports, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Madam President. The first 2 weeks of January essentially have been focused on setting the stage for what is to come in 2024. I and members of the senior leadership team and the administration were excited to be able to spend some time with our new city attorney and our new council member, Jones, over the last 2 weeks, getting to know them, creating an opportunity for them to sit down with our directors, getting to know the directors, and learn about some of the projects that are underway and will be coming forward in 2024. One day was not enough to get through all of our departments and all of our directors, so we'll schedule part 2 for both of you ladies. Look forward to doing that very soon. And have already appreciated your insights and partnership just in the short period of time that you've been here. Another initiative that has taken stage, and Councilwoman Padova, I'm going to have to, there was an update that came through as we were sitting here, so I have to update with regard to Gahanna 175. So we've talked a lot about the fact that 2024, Gahanna will celebrate the 175th anniversary of its founding. That actual date is later in August, but we have a wonderful committee of residents and community organization representatives that have been meeting since, I don't know, when did we start meeting? Councilwoman McGregor in September, October, November, sometime, last few months, meeting on a regular basis to plan year-long events. We did have planned a kickoff event, the soiree at the sanctuary, later this month. However, at a meeting that was occurring simultaneously, the committee discussed some unforeseen circumstances and have decided to push back and postpone that event, and it is now rescheduled for May 10th, at the sanctuary from 7 to 10 p.m. So the signboards that went up this morning will be coming down, so we don't want to confuse anybody. But again, things happen, and luckily they were able to get another date very quickly. So we look forward to the soiree at the sanctuary on May 10th, which will help to really be a fundraiser to support other events and activities throughout the year. There already are some wonderful events planned for February and March, a fantastic storytelling event. And then Tim Corliss, a Gahanna resident, has been working on creating a documentary of sorts to tell the story of the history of Gahanna. And on March 8th, he will have the unveiling of that documentary at the sanctuary. So bring your popcorn and pajamas. We can't wait to see the unveiling of that documentary. But you can find information on Gahanna 175, how you can get involved, a list of upcoming events. All the information is being uploaded right now on Gahanna175.com. So stay tuned for that. We do have, I'll put a date on your calendar also for the future, State of the City, which will be March 28th, that's a Thursday, from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. It will be held at La Navona, and much like the school, we're taking a little different approach to it this year, as we will be incorporating the Gahanna 175 theme into that. So with that, we'll be taking a look at Gahanna's past, present, and future. It will be more of an open house type of approach as well. So the schools and the city were thinking along the same lines. So we look forward to that event, but please note that date on your calendar. We also have positions for police and dispatchers that will be open and posted beginning in February 1, running through the month. So if you know anyone who might be interested in a wonderfully fulfilling career in either one of those fields, those opportunities will become available for posting and applying as of February 1. And then finally, obviously yesterday the nation recognized and honored the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I appreciate Councilmember Jones's comments earlier on. And as noted on the agenda, I did have a proclamation I had intended to present this evening to Gahanna residents Alex and Nike Alston. For those of you who might be familiar with their work, they have two nonprofit organizations, Youth Excellence as well as the Nike Alston Foundation. Both organizations are devoted toward really helping to uplift, connect resources, create opportunities for growth and training for Black youth. They've also we have partnered with them, the city, our Division of Police have partnered with them in having community conversations around suicide prevention in Black youth. We look forward to continuing those community conversations this year, but they have just done tremendous work. And in the spirit of Dr. King's call for service, to serve your community, to help lift up your community, and to foster a better community, I could think of no one better than Alex and Nike Alston to recognize for their work in impacting our Gahanna community. We had intended to do it tonight. Unfortunately, they're weathered in Washington, D.C., so they were supposed to be arriving at 3 and won't be arriving until later this week. So I will present that to them at another time later this week, but we'll send Mr. Van Meter a copy of the proclamation for attachment to the agenda. And then finally, I would just actually leave with a quote from Dr. King that says, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? What are we doing for those in our neighborhoods and communities who need our help?" So I would challenge all of us to keep that question at the forefront of our mind each and every day as we go to work for our residents, but even for our residents to keep that in mind every day. Think what a wonderful world this would be if we all thought that first. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Jadwin. City Attorney Tamala Harrison.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to start by expressing my thanks to the administration and to the mayor for facilitating the meetings with all of the directors and getting me up to speed, and I look forward to concluding those introductions in the upcoming weeks. In my 2 weeks in office so far, I have had an opportunity to reach out. I did indicate in my annual report that there was some litigation that had been pending since 2022 with no action last year. So I did reach out to the court on that, and it seems that the decision in that case should be pending here imminently. So hopefully we should have some action here shortly on that litigation front. Otherwise, I have nothing further to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tamala Harrison. All right. Moving right along to council comment, we will start with Mrs. McGregor tonight.
Nothing to add, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. McGregor. Mrs. Jones?
Also just extending a thanks to the mayor and your staff for onboarding and more to come, and for council colleagues and the community and Grace as we're getting used to this new role. Just appreciate that. Also a thank you to colleagues for honoring Martin Luther King Jr. Day yesterday, and a reminder to all of us to just continue that mindset throughout the year and not just yesterday. I was reminded of this morning as I saw one of my neighbors scraping ice off of the sidewalk next door. So even in these cold temperatures, we can always be of service to one another, and especially in times like this, to think of our housed and unhoused neighbors. And while we may not see them out and about here in Gahanna, there are those folks around us who don't have warm shelters. So a reminder of warming centers within our community, one of which is the Gahanna Library down the street. So in the spirit of service, just to think of others as we are trying to bundle up and keep ourselves warm, thinking of neighbors as well.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Ms. Padova?
Nothing for me this evening, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Padova. Mr. Renner?
Yes, thank you. I only have a couple of things. Yesterday, Dr. King, the Martin Luther King Day is a very important celebration, and I appreciate my colleagues and the mayor referencing in various ways that our community is also looking at celebrating and marking the day. I did write something on my Facebook page. I was recently reminded of Dr. King's acceptance speech when he received the Nobel Peace Prize. I highly recommend that you go listen to that. It's a very uplifting and very optimistic worldview, and something that we probably need refreshing today, especially in the grand scheme of things that's happening in the world. I also take a moment to try to look around and try to increase my awareness of what Dr. King was trying to do, and I always try to look around and try to just read something. I did find something quite by accident. I wasn't looking for this, but the Harvard Gazette actually published through the Radcliffe Institute of Advanced Study. Basically, it was a discussion on raising awareness and naming racism. And I wanted to actually point this out, and because here in the 21st century, we think when we pride ourselves on our feats of technology and our feats of awareness and our feats of even defeating racism, but it's not defeated. And you really got to listen to these two individuals. One speaker was Dr. Camara Phyllis Jones, who's a professor at the Radcliffe Institute, and the other was Dr. David Williams, who's also a professor of public health. and chair of the Social and Behavior Services at Harvard. My takeaway, one takeaway was a quote that Dr. Williams actually said, and I want to, repeat this. When you lack empathy for a population, you don't feel their suffering, and you do not support policies to address the changes the population faces. And I think that is one of the big things in the 21st century that we're still struggling to work around. So wanted to just bring that up. Switching gears a little bit, it's frigid temperatures, and it wouldn't be a night if you didn't hear from me about climate change. But there is a really interesting webinar. One of my professors is actually chairing this webinar. This Thursday, he is interviewing an author who wrote a book, Climate Resilience for an Aging Nation, and by Danielle Aragani, and she specializes in home housing sector and the impact on the aging part of our nation. As you know, that the aging demographically is probably one of the oldest or one of the fastest growing demographics of our country. And so what is the impact on the aging? This is it's going to be a very interesting take. It's Thursday, January 18th at 3 o'clock, and I can send out to everybody the link if you want to register for this. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Renner. Councilman Schnetzer?
Nothing to add, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Weaver?
Thank you, Madam President. I'll be very brief. Just echo my colleagues' comments and hope that everyone was able to take advantage of the opportunity to reflect on the life and legacy of Dr. King and how we as individuals and collectively can do our part to further that legacy in pursuit of a better, more just, and more prosperous world for us all. So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Weaver. Just a few updates tonight. So Mr. Schnetzer, Mr. Weaver, and I have been meeting fairly regularly over the last couple weeks with senior directors of the mayor regarding 825, committee and budget schedules, and other logistics. I wanted to thank Mayor Jadwin, Senior Director Schultz, and Senior Director Vollmer. I know that this takes additional time, and time is a valuable resource, but I do think that this is worth the investment, and I am grateful to all of you for your time in that. On that note, next Monday is the fourth Monday. We are planning a committee of the whole meeting and a finance committee meeting. And so we look forward to that conversation next week. Moving on, I have incorporated my monthly constituent report for the month of December 2023. I shared activities, communications with constituents, and my upcoming constituent hour in that report. I have a constituent hour coming up next Tuesday, January 23rd at 12:30 at the Gahanna Library in Study Room A. That's posted on social media in addition to being in that constituent report. I will end also reflecting a bit on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, reflecting on Reverend King. Attorney Marian Wright Edelman, a civil rights icon by her own right and founder of the Children's Defense Fund, in an interview with the Cleveland Plain Dealer in 1986, is credited with the quote, "Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase." She shared that was a lesson that she learned from Reverend King. And I think even we think that public service is so secular, and it is in some respects, but it does require faith. It requires faith that our efforts are going to lead to a better outcome for our community and for generations that follow us. And so I really appreciated finding that quote yesterday as it helps to guide me in the year ahead. With that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. We're adjourned.